All right. Call to order the October 20th, 2015 City Council meeting to order. Can we have roll call, please?
Mayor Dukes?
Here.
Vice Mayor Buckland?
Here.
Councilmember Cleveland?
Here.
Councilmember Didball? Here. Councilmember Gill?
Here. All right. We'd like to start with the invocation by our Vice Mayor and then following with the Pledge of Allegiance. If I could have Councilmember Cleveland lead us in the pledge after the invocation. Please stand.
If you bow your heads as I pray. Almighty Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of those that are gathered here tonight. We're truly blessed by your presence. We ask for your guidance and clear visions for efforts of staff and council will be of benefit to those that live and work in our community. It's in your most blessed name that I pray. Amen.
Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item number 1 is presentation to Local Women of the Year honorees. And make sure if I have the list here. Do I have the list? All right, I would like to invite our honorees to come forward when I call your name. And also, is Jeannie Cleaver, you're here also? I'd like you to come up here also. You're going to take pictures. Okay, I'll let you sit over there then. Joan Ellis. Joanne. Grace Espindola. Angela Tran, who is here actually in honor of her mother, Margaret Fernandez, who couldn't be here tonight. Barbara LeVake. Norma Montna. Along with the guest, Cynthia Roderick. You're not going to come up? Okay. And Cherie Stevens. And then also, Pete Didball. There were 10 outstanding Yuba City and Sutter County women who have been recognized by Congressman Garamendi Women's Initiative Network as our local Women of the Year, including our own council member, Preet Didball. We're identifying and celebrating the women who are outstanding leaders, women who have contributed to the betterment of our communities. And the women we honor here today come from many backgrounds. Some are mentors in their profession, others are tireless volunteers for charities. Every single one has made a real difference and transformed lives. And I'd like us all to congratulate them tonight. We also have a gift for each of you. So I'm going to have Councilmember Didball help me. They're heavy, so. Just so you don't have to all open it up, show you here what it is that you have received. And it says for exemplary community service. You get it out of there? They're in there tight, so I'll let you work at that. So I figured it. There we go. So the audience can see. All right. All right. Now, did you want to say a few words?
Basically, I just wanted to say congratulations to these wonderful, wonderful women. They've contributed to our community in many, many ways, and I myself was honored to be a part of this wonderful, wonderful group. So thank you so much for everything that you do.
And Jeannie, if you could pass on the congratulations to Congressman Garamendi for honoring these women. Thank him very much. Thank you, ladies. The next item on the agenda, we're going to start with a staff presentation and then I'll do a proclamation.
All right. Good evening, Council. In the spirit of honoring women who have contributed to our community, we're here to honor the Sutter Yuba Master Gardeners. This past fall, Sierra Wakefield in Public Works coordinated a series of water workshops and reached out to the Sutter Yuba Master Gardeners to help us create the topics and then also the content for those workshops. Those workshops were held over a period of 4 months, had great attendance, and we received a lot of positive feedback from the community and received requests for additional workshops in the spring. The workshops were Mulch Madness, prioritizing your landscaping, helping your trees survive the drought, preparing your fall-winter garden, and then a conservation fair. Not only did they help us with the workshops, they helped us with the Gap Waterwise Garden. On the screen is a display showing the design of the Waterwise Garden, which was designed by Bonnie Burrows of the Parks Department. But the Master Gardeners were involved with the plant review and selection. They also assisted with the installation. They were there all of the days helping with the installation. And then they were also, there's some before and after pictures. If you weren't there before, it was a little dismal, and now it's a beautiful location. And then they also assisted with the conservation fair, where they provided information to attendees on additional information related to landscaping, drip irrigation, mulch, benefits of mulch, and all the other topics that we had covered in the workshops. So they have been a tremendous help during this time of drought and getting information out to our customers, not only the Yuba City customers, but we had people from Plumas Lake, Marysville that attended, and so it was a lot of positive feedback. So I wanted to recognize the ladies that are here tonight. So Heidi Hudgens, Connie Cornelius, Margaret Stelmick, Jan Kendall, Lynn Rearson, Jennifer Rearson, and then Janine Hazy is the Sutter Yuba County Director for the Master Gardener Program Advisor. So with that, thank you.
If I could have all the ladies come forward. Tonight we are honoring the Yuba Sutter Master Gardeners for their dedication to water conservation and education in Yuba City. Heidi Sanders and the members of the Yuba Sutter Master Gardeners, please, well, you're already up here, so don't have to ask you to come up. Okay. We'd like to thank each one of you for your help with the beautiful Gaucher Aquatic Park Waterwise Garden. And I encourage all of you in the community to go by and take a look at what they've done. It's been a few weeks now, so it's had some time to mature a little bit, and thank you for your help in designing and putting that in. The Sutter Yuba Master Gardeners have contributed to the waterwise conservation by educating the community on drought-tolerant landscaping, empowering Yuba City residents to help with helpful tools and information needed to significantly reduce water usage, providing examples of drought-tolerant plants through the installation of waterwise gardening at the Gaucher Aquatic Park, and devoting expertise and countless hours of support to the residents by providing water conservation resources and education to those that are looking for guidance. Now therefore be it resolved that I, John Dukes, Mayor of Yuba City, on behalf of the entire City Council, hereby recognize the Sutter Yuba Master Gardeners Organization and their many volunteers for their expert dedication to water conservation education and both cooperation with the city of Yuba City and throughout our community. Done this 20th day of October 2015 at the city of Yuba City, county of Sutter, state of California. Would you like to say a few words, Heidi?
I'm the Master Gardener Program Rep for Sutter Yuba Master Gardeners, and I really like to thank Sierra and Diane. They both were tremendous, and Bonnie Burrows, who did the design and has been outstanding to work with, and all my Master Gardeners who helped us.
And any more of the ladies would like to say any words?
Everybody that Bonnie was a Master Gardener. She retired from a Master Gardener, but she started off as one, so we're a good organization. We want her back.
You hear that? They want you back. All right. All right. Well, thank you, ladies, for all your work. All right, public communication. You are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment is taken on items listed on the agenda when they are called. Public comments on items not listed on the agenda will be heard under item number 4, appearance of interested citizens. Comments on controversial items may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select representatives to express opinions of the group. We have one written request, and that means that he'll have allowed 5 minutes to speak instead of the normal 3. Members of the public may address the City Council on items of interest that are within the city's jurisdiction. Individuals addressing general comments are encouraged to limit their statements to 3 minutes. So is there anyone who would like to speak on something that is not on the agenda this evening? All right, the rest of them will be taken then as we move along. Item number 5.
Mayor?
Yes.
I think you did have one under item number 4.
Item number 4, excuse me. Thank you. Tana Thomas with the Senior Commission.
Good evening, Mayor Dukes, council members. I'm Tana Thomas, Germain Drive, Yuba City, and a member of the Yuba City Senior Commission. I'd just like to take a minute to remind the council that the commission will be hosting a senior resource fair, Thursday, November 5th, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Senior Center in Yuba City. Invite you to please, if your schedule permits, please stop by and visit with us. We will be there. There'll be representatives from housing, legal services, transportation, health care, members from the Sutter County Senior Commission on Aging, and then our ARP driving courses, as well as others will be joining us. So if you have an opportunity, please stop by.
All right. Thank you, Tana.
Thank you.
And just to confirm, that's November 5th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
That's correct, at the Senior Center on Ainsley.
Thank you very much. All right, now moving on to item number 5, California Citizens Option for Public Safety, or the COPS funding for 2015-2016. Chief Landon.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. You have before you an item for a public hearing and the authorization to accept grant funding for the COPS grant, which is citizen option. Every year, depending upon state budget priorities, funds may be allocated to law enforcement agencies to assist in carrying out priorities as established by the Chief of Police. Over the last several years, monies have been made available through the state of California to local enforcement entities in the form of the COPS grant. This year, the City of Yuba City Police Department will receive approximately $100,000. The state government code restricts the money to be used for frontline law enforcement purposes and may not be used to supplant any existing law enforcement services provided by the city. We have been notified by the State Department of Finance that the state budget will allocate approximately $100,000 for the YCPD and no cash match is required. The police department has traditionally utilized the funding obtained in this grant for major approval expenditure category of technology advancements and infrastructure improvements for the benefit of frontline law enforcement delivery to the citizens. Funding directions are based upon needs assessment from the department management group in consultation with the rank and file employees and direction from the city's IT staff and our research and development units within the department. Prior years' expenditures have been for such items as a complete infrastructure upgrade of the police radio system, repeater radio frequency and related equipment, Sutter Butte's radio interoperability project phase 1, the EOC retrofit, total service weapon upgrade for all officers, equipping all patrol vehicles with mobile data terminals, the computers that are currently in there, required upgrades in the fire computer-aided dispatching system, secure video conferencing capabilities, and other items for the Office of Emergency Services so we can integrate with them and through FEMA. We suggest a continuation along this path of technology evaluation and implementation, which has served us well over the last 10 years. This year, we'd also like to utilize some of the money to purchase automated license plate readers. This equipment will allow us to more readily locate and prevent motor vehicle theft through the use of technology, which is currently one of the biggest problems in the Sacramento Valley. We're one of the highest areas that is targeted for motor vehicle theft. The license plate readers allows us to rapidly check vehicles, ensure they are not stolen in a much more efficient and effective manner than an officer running each one individually. Our desire is to purchase at least one fixed location and one mobile location vehicle mounted to utilize within the city of Yuba City. We're also investigating the purchase of a front gate card access to the police department similar to the one located at City Hall entrances. Currently, we basically have a touchpad where you have to reprogram it every time an employee is changed or a different vendor has to have access for a period of time. It's a lot more efficient for us to just have a card reader so an officer or somebody that works there can use it. And then if somebody is, for whatever reason, no longer allowed access, that still allows us to change that more rapidly than it does now. It also allows greater security of the YCPD parking lot and the sensitive equipment located within the fence confines of the YCPD. The fiscal impact of basically it's $100,000 that goes to the state grant law enforcement equipment fund and the related revenue account. The alternative would be provide staff with alternative spending paths which would not supplant routine expenditures in the general fund. And the recommendation of staff is to adopt a resolution authorizing the Chief of Police to accept the fiscal year 2015-2016 COPS funding and approve expenditure recommendations. Further authorize the Chief Financial Officer to make budget adjustments as necessary. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Mayor, for any questions of the council.
All right. Are there questions from council?
Yes, through the mayor. Chief Landon, when this license plate reader makes readings of license plates, how long does it hold that? Is it how often is the memory dumped on it? Does it hold it? Because there are patterns that people go on in cars. Might be concerned of something of that nature.
Absolutely, and there was just recently an an Assembly bill that was passed. I think it was Assembly bill or Senate bill number 34 that takes effect in January that makes us. It has certain patterns on how long we can hold equipment. I believe it's 60 days for information.
Okay.
We're not in the. We don't want to store the data because that becomes problematic for us. Our whole goal is to run the plates. If they come back not stolen, or if there's somebody that's not identified as a wanted felon that's associated with that vehicle, then we have no need to store that data, and we'd rather not.
Right. I just wanted the public to know that.
Yes,
I assumed that, but wanted the public to know and to hear from you how you would operate that. And the other question is on personal cameras. Would that be something that was day to day, or how are we going to be able? Are you going to be considering any of that through technology?
The body cameras, individual. That's already been approved through a prior grant. Where we're at right now is the researching of the best equipment. I think council member or
right.
Vice Mayor Buckman was talking before about making sure that we have the data or the equipment that's going to be the best use for the officers. We've researched some. We have some out in the field right now that we're testing. We just went to COPS West, where every year they bring the best technology from around the country into one location. We're able to get the vendors up to us, to Yuba City PD, and we can have them demonstrate the different abilities. Because again, storage is our biggest problem. Is it's not having the data or taking the data. It's what we do with the data afterwards and make sure that we do dispose of it properly and in an amount of time so we don't keep it forever.
Thank you very much.
Other questions? One further question I have for you is also on vehicle registrations. Does it, in addition to stolen vehicles or an individual that has a warrant associated with that particular vehicle, does it also run for current registration on the vehicles too?
You mean to check if, just to clarify, to see if the vehicle is not expired?
Correct.
I'm not sure that the one that we're going to have has that capability. Most of them do. We're in the early stages, and that would be something I'm sure that we would be looking at to make sure it wasn't a false registration on the plate.
All right, thank you. All right. Entertain a motion.
Public hearings.
Oh, excuse me. All right, we'll open the public hearing and allow those from the public who wish to speak on this item to step to the podium. Doesn't appear like there's anyone who wants to, so we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for action.
Move to approve.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Item number 6, Bike Lane Striping Improvement Project. Ben Moody.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Last meeting, or a couple meetings back, we came forward with a proposed project to basically construct a bike lane striping improvement project to eliminate the right turn conflicts at intersections around town. I don't know if you could see. Is there a little better one? This area right here. Over time, the standards have changed for bike lanes and their position, and basically the new standard is to move them away from the curb and put them in the through lane, so they don't have the conflicts with the right turn lanes crossing over and potentially hitting people in that lane. So the city qualified for a highway safety improvement program. It was a federal funded project for about $115,000. We put a project together that identified the right turn conflicts around intersections throughout the city and put that out to bid. The bid came in, the engineer's estimate was $136,000. We received one bid, unfortunately, for $128,000. So the good thing was it was under estimate. It was a little less bidding results than we wanted. I believe that part of the low bidder turnout is due to the type of work. Typically, there's about 3 main stripers in the area. Usually, they're subcontractors. They're not really in the contract administration business where they coordinate different subs and handle federal projects with some of the federal requirements for contract administration. And so we kind of reached out to find out what was going on, why they didn't bid. We also reached out to Caltrans to make sure with the one bid result that based on the pricing and the turnout that we'd be able to move forward. And we received Caltrans approval that it was acceptable. And so with that, we'd like to ask council's permission to approve items A through C to award the contract to Crisp Company of Fremont, California, in the amount of their bid of $128,188, and then authorize finance to make the city manager execute the contract on behalf of the city and appropriate dollars as necessary for the project. And I'd be happy to answer any questions with that.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I may ask a question, Mr. Moody. Mr. Moody, has the Crisp company provided service to the city in the past, and have those services been met the expectation of Public Works?
Yes. Crisp Company is one of the main stripers that we've seen on various striping projects. They've performed. I believe they actually have a sub office out of Woodland, and they're one of the main subs for us on any of the projects that have come forward. They regularly do a few jobs a year for us on miscellaneous projects.
Okay, thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they just did the Garden Highway project recently. I believe too.
You know, I'm not positive, but they might have. I know that they're regularly in town, and they've also done past city striping projects. Mm-hmm. Usually biannually, we put out a maintenance striping contract, and I know that they've in the past have been one of the contractors selected to do that.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Move to approve A, B, and C to award the contract.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 7, amend tobacco-free ordinance to include the prohibition of electronic cigarettes. Mr. McIntyre.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. As you're aware of, at the last council meeting, I proposed an amendment to our ordinance and gave background information on electronic cigarettes and electronic delivery devices. The only changes in staff's recommendation this time is that we increased the fiscal amount by $1,000 so that we could create temporary signage for special events per Councilman Buckland's request. Staff's recommendation at this time is to adopt an ordinance amending the tobacco-free ordinance 9-2.23 of the Yuba City Municipal Code to include the prohibition of electronic cigarettes and waive the second reading. I'll hand it back to the mayor.
All right. Any questions of staff at this time? I'd like to open the public hearing and invite a number of members to come to the podium. First, I would like to invite, I believe it is Jeremy Howard. And before you start, Jeremy, the next in line will be Luann Cummings and then Mark Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is Jeremy Howard. I am one of the co-owners of Net Vapes here in town. And I saw this on the agenda and felt the need that I should come speak on this topic. I'm making a few assumptions that the concern by maybe some citizens as well as the council members is maybe the secondhand vapor concern. If users are doing this in the park, those that are around them, the bystanders, might be affected, as well as how it looks to children. Am I correct in that assumption? Is that how this came to be?
It was something that was brought to us by a group that was concerned about those.
Okay, I just don't want to get off on the wrong track if that wasn't the case. I sent emails to everyone today, and I hopefully had a chance to read them. If not, I would appreciate it if you did. I'll try not to rehash a lot of what I said in that. I did want to quickly review a couple studies regarding what I assume is the concerns of people, which is secondhand vapor, how that affects them, and the impact on maybe the youth of the community and the community in general. Drexel University is a highly cited study that did very extensive research on the effects to the user as well as the vapor exhaled in general. And they reviewed 9,000 observations about the chemistry of vapor and determined that the levels of contaminants in e-cigs or vapor products, the users are exposed to insignificant amounts of toxins that pose zero health risk to the user. More in line with what we're talking about, the Spanish Council of Scientific Research did a peer-reviewed study that measured the levels of volatile organic compounds in indoor air, exhaled breath, tobacco, smoke exhaled, vapor products exhaled, etc., and compared them, and found, again, no health risks to bystanders or people around users of these devices. Public Health England just released a study in August of this year that did extensive studies on the morality, the economic costs, compared it to tobacco use and tobacco smoke, as well as patches, gums, and all those different tobacco products out there, and found that electronic cigarettes are 95% less harmful than traditional tobacco and cigarette smoke, and are doing further studies on using this as a form of tobacco cessation, government-sponsored programs. At the end of the day, vaping is a consumer-created solution to the tobacco problem, and any proven or determined negative impacts on our community should be looked at with a fresh set of eyes and not just lump them in with current tobacco ordinances. Because at the end of the day, these products do not contain tobacco. Many of our users, in fact, opt for no nicotine as well. And so there is no ties to tobacco whatsoever with these users. There's been an extensive amount of study, and we have yet to find anything that's showing it's as harmful as tobacco. And to lump this in with something that's as heavily regulated as the tobacco industry for good cause, it's been proven to be deadly, and for those that are around the users of tobacco, I think is a little heavy-handed. And a flat-out ban I would not agree with, and I would urge you guys to vote no.
I have to ask you to wrap up. Did
I go over? I'm sorry.
You met your time here.
Sure.
So
in closing, children should not be using these products. We fully support that, and any responsible ordinance put forward, we would support to prevent that. But banning a product simply for the way it looks, to those not familiar with it, is something that I hope this council does not support. And thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Actually, I'm going to have Mark Howard, if you would step up next.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I think what Jeremy said pretty much touches anything I would say. I think the only thing I would like to add is, what does this message send to the community? I heard council member comments after the last presentation that was posted online, and that was probably most concerning to me because they didn't seem founded in science. They seem to be founded in emotion, which I understand, especially since the state of California launched a $70 million campaign against the industry. Without walking into that, I think that's a whole other subject and not pertaining to this issue. But I think the concern I have is that what this tells the community is vaping is equal to tobacco. And if you look at all the studies, it clearly is not. In fact, if you look at the health implications of this, as a community, we ought to be promoting vapors to smokers. The health implications alone, just today we had another customer that came into Net Vapes that was referred from their doctor to come in. And we've had a multitude of those. So I think there are health benefits that you haven't really considered, and also implications to the community about what this message really says. It says this is equal to and as bad as tobacco. And I think that's unfortunate and a disservice to the community. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Next up is Luann Cummings.
I'm Dr. Luann Cummings. I'm the County Health Officer, and come to speak on this ordinance as I think it's a really important consideration. So one of my biggest concerns is that less harmful is not the same as harmless. So there's no doubt that the e-cigarette with a little nicotine in it is not the same as smoking combustible tobacco. There's no argument there. However, it's not to say that there's no harm. So new research is showing, it's just published in the last 2 months, 2 big studies, but one published in Pediatrics, which is the professional journal of the American Pediatric Association, Physicians Association, and another one in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, show that teens that are using e-cigarettes are more likely to start using combustible tobacco. In Los Angeles County, they did a study with 3,300 young people from 40 different high schools to make sure they got a broad representation. Curious that out of that 3,300, 700 had to be disqualified in the 9th grade because they'd already used tobacco. So of the remaining, they did a survey how many had used e-cigarettes at least once, and compared with the group that had never used e-cigarettes. The group that at 6 months after the group that had already used e-cigarettes at least once were over 30% more likely to try tobacco within 6 months. And at 1 year, it was a continuation of 27% of using tobacco. They had again used it within 6 months, the second 6 months, compared to 7% and 8% of those who did not use e-cigarettes. So using e-cigarettes is definitely a risk of going on to combustible tobacco. That's a huge concern. Nicotine is a neurotoxin. It's highly addictive. We've had addicts tell me that it's harder to quit nicotine than it is to quit heroin. It's extremely addictive. It also is known to have an effect on the developing brain. So if teens and young adults, the brain continues development up until the mid-20s. So people that smoke as adults, almost all of them have started by the time of 25, and most of them started before they were 18. So if we can keep them away from nicotine until their mid-20s, the likely they'll ever start is very small. At this time, there are more teens using e-cigarettes than all other forms of tobacco combined. Cigarettes, cigars, chew, all different types. The number of teens using, young people between the ages of 18 and 29 tripled in 1 year. In the year 2013, they looked at the numbers. The numbers using e-cigarettes tripled in 1 year. So it's a huge escalation among young people.
Your time has expired, so if you could wrap up, please.
Okay. E-cigarettes, like other things, are part of a larger context. This is not just about whether nicotine are less harmful to use, but about the place of addictive drugs in our society. Limiting the impact of personal decisions on other safety is consistent with our nation's values. People are required to put their children in safety-approved car seats. People are required to stop at stop signs. People may put gasoline only in approved portable fuel containers. Medications must have childproof caps. So I support this ordinance, this amendment to the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. And Larry Ozeran?
Mayor Dukes, member of the council, thank you for your time this evening. I'm Larry Ozeran of Northwest Yuba City. For many years, I've come before this council supporting issues related to limited government, focused primarily on fiduciary issues and public safety issues. For me, this is an issue of public safety. The ordinance is focused on doing what limited government is supposed to do, which is find the proper balance of individual rights between people occupying public spaces. I think I won't repeat what Dr. Cummings said, and you've heard in previous testimony all about the behavioral risks as well as health risks to individuals who are not actively vaping. I think that the information presented as science by the opponents tonight is somewhat misleading and certainly limited. The opponents had at least 2 prior opportunities to have a discussion with us about the science if they wanted to delve into that more deeply. I'm certain that we could have discussed that in a way that we came to some sort of agreement about what the truth might be. But in the absence of having previous discussion, I would just say that having a study that showed no evidence is really not relevant in the context of other studies finding evidence. Because once you find evidence, the lack of evidence in another study is really irrelevant. So while I understand the profit motive for wanting people to behaviorally normalize in childhood, I think that putting that profit motive ahead of the safety of our youth is a choice that I hope that they will ultimately regret. And for the benefit of our Yuba City residents, I respectfully encourage the council to adopt this ordinance as written. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ozeran. All right, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for discussion or comments. Mr. McIntyre, if you could just clarify what this ordinance is, that it's primarily just for parks and I believe within 50 feet of
Public-owned facilities.
Public-owned facilities.
In city parks.
So it's not an outright ban of e-cigarettes, it's just in those locations.
Correct.
Right.
Through the mayor.
Yes, Mr. Buckler.
You know, to have the umbrella of acting out of emotion last time that we first heard this, I think all of us are coming at this from a position clearly of receiving information not only from the healthcare sector, but also from the public. I know how I choose to live. I know that when I was 17 and 18, I smoked cigarettes, non-filtered Camel cigarettes. Try it sometime. That will spin your head around, and if you can put it back on right, it's probably not looking forward. I did that for a period of 2 years. I broke away from that. I chose not to smoke. I chose not to have my family involved in smoking. 2 separate issues when we're talking about vaping and a product that was first built for cessation of smoking habits. This has now turned into a lifestyle, not a cessation product. There are many other things that are added to the product that can be consumed at the very same time. There is a proliferation of products that are out there currently on the market. To do this in a city park or in a city building I think that we, as good stewards in our community, need to limit that. A prohibition, that's not for us to do citywide. That's for businesses to take care of their own individual businesses. But the city business, that's our concern. The public safety is our concern. I listened in the past to the very same type of science that you guys quote up here tonight. And that was the R.J. Reynolds folks right in front of Congress. It's the same kind of studies. It is, and I'm going to tell you why. You tell me that when you exhale, that it carries nothing. Can you tell me what's contained inside the vapor, the cloud of vapor that envelops the entire interior of a car when the person releases that from their lungs, or it never enters their lungs and they put it out? What's contained in that? These.
No. Order. No.
No.
We've had the public hearing, and so.
I asked. Okay, it was rhetorical. It was rhetorical. Let's leave it at that. Okay, so it was improper on my part. But I will tell you this much: that the things that I hear tonight, I hear from two people from the medical community telling us clearly that it poses a danger. I rely on that information, not from the vendor who's making profit from it.
Through the mayor, I just want to make a comment to Mr. Howard. First of all, thank you guys for coming here. I do want to make a point that this recommendation for this particular ordinance has been in work, not for a week, not for 2 weeks, probably at least 6 months and beyond that. And this recommendation has gotten together through the Parks and Recreation Commission, which have held several meetings, many meetings out in public as well. And then this recommendation comes to the council. So this is the second reading. The first reading on this was done at the last council meeting. So this, in any means, way, shape, or form, is based upon emotions. So it's definitely based upon research, meetings that's been done out in the community. So if you were not, notified about these meetings, or you didn't know about that, I'm sure that they were on the Parks and Recreation websites, they were on the city websites. They perhaps weren't in the newspaper, but there are other means of a way to get these information out. So, to the comment that was made that it was based upon emotions, I can assure you not. But again, I think, like our vice mayor said, that this is based upon an ordinance for schools and public buildings only. And I think it doesn't matter if it's a regular cigarette, or if it's a Camel cigarette, or if it's a joint and didn't inhale, whatever it is, it's just a perception for kids of saying it doesn't matter if it's a harmful cigarette or not a cigarette, just no smoking in parks and close to public buildings. So just wanted to make that point.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
I wanted to go ahead and add, Mr. Howard, I know you were at the community forum where we did speak of the e-cigarettes and what it brings out for our youth. So you were a part of that conversation there, and I do recall by the end of that community forum that you were in favor of what we are doing, is bringing awareness and bringing education to what these products are. So I appreciate your attendance at the community forum as well as here tonight. This is to protect our community, and it's to bring out the positive and keep our community healthy in all aspects. The research continues to build on these products, and like Councilmember Buckland had indicated, it's just not one product. It keeps on expanding, and it's behavioral issues that become a part of these youth that are going to grow up, potentially become smokers. So we have to set that example, and this is for all families to be able to go into our parks, to go into our restaurants and not have people vaping in front of our youth as well as ourselves. So this is for the community as a whole. It is not against your business. That's your responsibility to take care of the community on your part. But as council members, our responsibility is for the youth and the families. So,
thank you. Further comments? All right, I'd entertain a motion.
Through the mayor, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items prior to the time that the council votes on the motion unless members of the city council, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed or removed from the consent calendar for individual action. Anyone wishing to remove anything from the consent calendar? All right, I will entertain a motion for the consent calendar.
Move approval.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Carries unanimously. Item number 13, Public Employees Union Local Number 1 Memorandum of Understanding. Natalie Springer.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Tonight I am pleased to be presenting you the Local 1 Memorandum of Understanding. I'd like to give you a little background here first. The Local 1 MOU amendment expired over a year ago, even though the first round of negotiations began in early 2014. During this first round of negotiations, Local 1 and the city's positions were fundamentally different with respect to economic issues and the state of the city's budget. The city proceeded through mediation and fact-finding without resolution, and as a result, the city imposed its last and best and final offer on May 19th. The terms of imposition included the employees paying the entire employee contribution, elimination of half the furlough, capping of the health care, elimination of Me Too clause, and a no layoff provision. After imposition, it was important to the city to get back to the negotiations table with Local 1. Negotiations resumed on August 14th. After less than 2 months of negotiating, Local 1 and the city were able to come to terms on the agreement and signed a tentative agreement on October 7th. Local 1 ratified the tentative agreement on October 13th. The Local 1 MOU terms include it expires June 30th, 2016, a 2% flat raise salary adjustment, eliminates the 5% of the furlough program, includes a one-time distribution of $1,500. There is an FLSA provision that was in exchange for 2 floating holidays. It transitioned in employees paying 20% of the medical premium, meet and confer over policies during the term of the agreement, and also has some plant operator 12-hour shift schedule language that we have negotiated on. In addition to these terms, there are several other items that remain in effect that was a result of the imposition. This includes employees are paying their entire member contribution still, and that the Me Too and layoff protections are both gone as well.
Ms. Springer, if you go back to the previous slide.
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, the agreement expiration, should that read June 30th of 2017?
17, yes. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine.
I didn't catch that. Reviewed this a few times too. Thank you. There is a fiscal impact, as you can see from this slide. And then at this time, I would ask council to approve or request council approve the resolution for the Local 1 MOU and approve the needed supplemental appropriation as well. So at this point, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, are there questions of staff?
Comments just, or not questions, but just comments to all of our Yuba City employees. Just want to thank them for everything that they do for our wonderful city and everything they do to serve the citizens of our fine community.
Yes.
Just a very short comment. This closes a serious gap that had occurred, and certainly appreciate the representation of Local 1 continuing to stick with it, to come back and work on a 2-year agreement to be able to provide for the employees. Nothing was harder than voting to impose a contract on this work group, and I'm certainly very pleased with the outcome of a 2-year contract.
All right, and also I'd just like to clarify: it's a 2-year contract. Does that expire in 2017 or 2018?
It would be 2017.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, one other thing, and you might have noticed, well, we do have a lot of people in the audience this evening, but I don't want to overlook the fact that we do have the president of Local 1, Dave Collender, with us. And so I know when you extend thanks, you're extending it to Dave and the Local One group. So thank you, Dave.
Yes.
Through the mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to thank Dave and the rest of the employees for actually seeing that this is the best that the city could do at this time, and that we are really trying to accommodate the needs and the fact that there have been losses or no gains over the period of time. But we were working very hard to recognize you and do what we can. Thank you.
And I'd also like to just say thank you to our employees, and I'm glad we've finally come to this day. And it is not a pleasure for any of us to impose contracts, and I was thankful that Local One came back to the table to get us to where we are today, to where we should have been. And so thank you for that. And at this point, I will entertain a motion.
Sure, to the mayor. Go ahead.
Turn on my mic.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to move forward.
All right, have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
And a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Item number 14, I believe you
Yep,
need to recuse
I've got to
yourself.
recuse myself. Mr. Baines is a relative of mine, so I will recuse myself.
All right, we'll call you back in a few hours. No, I mean a few minutes. All right, agreement to negotiate exclusively with Coldwell Banker, Mr. Carm Baines, with regard to city-owned property, former fire station number 4, and adjacent residential property. Mr. McIntyre.
Good evening again. The item before you is to request the approval to authorize our city manager to execute an agreement to negotiate exclusively with Coldwell Banker, Mr. Baines, with regard to former fire station 4 and the adjacent property to the south for future development. As council is aware of, since 2009, old fire station 4 has been vacant. We've used it for a variety of quick uses, if you will. And since 2010, staff has initiated 3 different requests for proposals for that property. In the last 5 months, with council's approval, we have gone through another 45-day request for proposal. We have obtained appraisals for the property. And with our most recent RFP process, we had 3 proposals. All 3 of those proposals were considered community uses, so appropriate for that location. However, that we are recommending the proposal to be rewarded or to be able to negotiate with Mr. Baines and Coldwell Banker because his proposal, there was a willingness to purchase the property at appraised value, minus any city requirements that will be asked of him. If the ENA is agreed tonight by council, staff and the potential developer will have approximately 180 days to create a development and disposition agreement, a DDA. The issues to be addressed in the DDA will be the purchase price for the site, the developer's financial plan, design considerations, the developer's history, and of course the requirements and restrictions that go along with the development. Council's approval tonight, just to make sure we're all on the same page, it is not, you're not okaying the sale of the property, you're just giving us the ability to negotiate. Once the DDA is completed and negotiations are done, then that DDA will come before council for your consideration.
Right, questions of staff? I have one question for you, Brad. If you're not able to come up with a DDA within that 180 days, then what happens?
If we are not able to, then we have 2 options. We can extend it if it is the council's desire, and then if that is not council's desire, then we kind of look at our options again.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
I have a bit of a concern as to the length of time that the house has been in the condition it is. It needs to be torn down and gotten out of there. It's, there are risks with vagrants and things that get into the house and things like that. And also the fact that the building, old Station 4, is pretty much obsolete for any other use, earthquake stuff, some of the requirements that are now required I would like at least to be considered in the plan, elimination of that as soon as possible and get them removed within a short period of time. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I will entertain a motion.
Move staff's recommendation.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. If someone could get Mr. Gill back, please. Item number 15 is South Walton area traffic improvements. Mr. Ben Moody.
Good evening. The item I have back before you is in regards to improvements to the South Walton area traffic. Last meeting, we had residents come in with some concerns about this area, and it was brought to the council's attention that we've been working with residents in this area over the past decade, and most recently over the last few months, to kind of really try to do something in that area. The area has wide streets, long straightaways, that is just really inducive to speeding. And so there's been different attempts over the years to place speed bumps, different striping, different signage, and it's really been problematic because that's not that effective, and especially with the reduced traffic. Yuba City PD doesn't enforce traffic in that area. It's still under Sutter County Sheriff's jurisdiction. And so without that tool to really put the police officers down there and enforce traffic, those measures with striping and signage, it just hasn't really been productive. And so we've kind of taken a close look at this area. We've done some data analysis, looked at the volumes of traffic, the east-west direction, north-south, some collision history, and then just really around the park. So the items before you start out with 6 main areas. There's problems throughout the subdivision. We kind of wanted to key in on these 6 areas around the park specifically, and then a couple of the high traffic incident areas. Last week, this is where we had the incident where the last meeting where they went through the house there on the corner. Up here, we've had a few car swipes and different totals where people kind of hooked this corner real fast to go up to Lincoln Road to the Walgreens up there. So right now, what staff is doing is we've gone out and we're measuring the existing conditions before the stop signs, and then we're going to take the studies and information after the stop signs so we can kind of analyze how effective they are and kind of get a handle on how well they work. Because there is some reservations that the stop signs are meant to aid pedestrian traffic for the crosswalks coming across there, and then also due to issues with sight visibility and different things, and not so much for speed, but they can have that impact near adjacent to the stop signs. So with this item here, we're proposing to put stop signs all 4 directions. Currently, most of these have them in 2 directions, but we're going to go through and put them on the 2, make it an all-way stop, and then put crosswalks in to facilitate around the park and the other areas because it's stop controlled, which will help pedestrians come across to the park and its high use. So with that, we reached out to a local striper, Chris Company, who was the striper for Garden Highway project. We got kind of an estimate of what it would take to put the striping down in thermoplastics that would last and hold up, and then street crews would put up the stop signs and the signage. So we have an estimate that's approximately $8,500 that we utilize our striping account for, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions of staff? I do have a speaker request on this item, so I'd like to open public hearing and invite Frank Hamra to come and speak on this item. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name's Frank Hamra. I've lived in the Cypress subdivision, which surrounds Happy Park, the area we're concerned with, at 1625 Alicia Drive for over 15 years. I have emailed all of you my observations, suggestions, and photos of the traffic situation in that area. I have not staked out Happy Park like some creepy stalker just to find fabricated, exaggerated, isolated, or anecdotal evidence to support my claims. I walk my dogs around that park. I've done it for 10 to 12 years, and I've been doing it a lot more in the last 4 to 5 months. I've been walking around the park 3 times a day. Just this morning, I observed a big green Yuba City transit bus traveling west on Pebble Beach Drive from Sanborn Road at a pretty good high rate of speed. It was traveling so fast that it actually entered with 2 of its tires into a the bicycle lane on the right side of the lane there, with 2 of its tires, because it couldn't negotiate the curve there going that fast. It's really common for people to do that. They cut the curve off because they just can't negotiate the curve going the speeds they're going. As the bus continued down the street to the the bus stop located at Pebble Beach Drive and Portola Valley Drive, the city has placed a radar traffic trailer out there by Happy Park, and as it slowed down to stop at the bus stop, up came the speed on the trailer, 28 miles an hour. Okay, I surmise it was probably doing close to 29 to 30 miles an hour before it even started to slow down, because the radar caught him slowing down, so he was obviously going faster. Anecdotal, isolated, or exaggerated, I don't think so. It's typical for traffic down Pebble Beach Drive. I would like to thank Yuba City Public Works Department, particularly Mr. Moody, and Diana Langley, and the City Council members for getting on board with the improvements you are suggesting and supporting in Agenda 15. And oh, by the way, I'm walking my dog today. I noticed little white painted circles on the lawns where the proposed stop signs are going in. So I want to thank you all.
We're just being proactive. That was in case there was a positive vote tonight. All right. Close the public hearing, bring it back to the council for action.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
And I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Well, and I thought I was the only one that got the cart in front of the horse sometimes, but I'm glad to hear Public Works is doing that also.
Being proactive
Yes.
as much as possible.
All right. All those in favor of item 15, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Item number 16, Assembly Republican Caucus 9-point Transportation Funding Plan. Mr. Gale.
Good evening, Mayor Dukes and council members. At our council meeting that was held at the high school, we presented some information related to a legislative package that was put together by the California League of Cities. As you might remember, the governor called for a special session of the legislature to find some type of dedicated transportation funding for our local, for both state and local roads. Since that time, Assemblymember Gallagher reached out to the city and provided us what was the Assembly members or the Assembly Republican Caucus 9-point plan. And that plan, here are basically briefly each one of the issues along with the associated bills. And what it's doing, and what I think met kind of some of the discussion at the council meeting, was there's no increases in taxes or fees. They're all looking at existing funding sources to reallocate funds to create a dedicated source for transportation funding. That goes from cap and trade funds, the vehicle weight fees, the annual strategic growth fund, efficiencies in Caltrans, vacant state positions, and $1 billion annually out of the general fund. Each one of the Republican bills does have language in it requiring that at least half of the funds be dedicated for local road projects. That was one of the key measures in the League of California Cities request, was to ensure that not all these funds went to state highways, which we have. I think Vice Mayor Buckland talked about how there's 4 or 5 miles within the city, and we literally have hundreds of miles of local roads that need to be funded. So at this time, I open up the discussion. The recommendation is that we authorize the mayor to sign on to a letter in support of the Assembly Republican Caucus Transportation Plan.
All right. Is there
Through the mayor.
questions? Yes.
At the recent League of Cities conference held in San Jose, there was a state of transportation and how to finance and committee and meeting, and it was in a big hall. And what I got out of that is that most of the cities don't want to raise taxes either. Most of the members there wanted to find other ways to do it. They knew that the structure, the infrastructure needed to be fixed, improved in some way or another. But like everyone else, pretty much stymied at how to accomplish that without overburdening the citizens on taxes. There were some ideas, recommendations, but one of the speakers was very clearly trying to stay neutral on it, and he did a very good job. But he also was realistic and said, what's being proposed will not work. We need to find something better. And that's, shortening my short version. So that's why having this brought before us is so important, because this is an alternative. So we need to seriously look at these other ideas and what was proposed by our state government.
Thank you.
To the mayor.
Yes.
I think this conversation has been had in every city, within every county, within committees, within COGS throughout the state, and certainly looking at how do we fund our transportation needs, our infrastructure as it begins to deteriorate over time. And I will reiterate, I think that Yuba City does a very good job of utilizing nearly $1 million a year on our local streets, and yet we don't get to where we need to be in every 20 years. We fall behind, and this is, I think, where the state needed to come up with a better plan than to simply divert funds from all of these current areas that they're going to try to capture money out of. And the state diverted those back into social welfare programs and everything else that you can think of that the state likes to put their fingers into. But just, some of the simple ones, the vehicle weight fees. This is seriously $1 billion and some every year that has been diverted away from the highways into other programs. There are a number of other things like trying to create a more functioning and better functioning Caltrans. How that's done, I don't know without putting a number to it, but this does put a number of $500 million. That's the beginning of this. Also shortening up the CEQA process for building roads or doing repairs to our infrastructure. This seems only the proper thing to do. This is the right path. It probably doesn't get us all the way there, but it's a good beginning. It's probably 9 points out of 20 that need to be made where we can get back funds that were really designed for our transportation needs here in California.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Any other comments? All right. With this proposal, the one that was turned down for lack of action last time was because it was raising taxes, and this one does not. And I think that we can get behind this as a council and say that we will do that, and then also assuring that we get our local share here for local roads and not all going to state highways. So with that, I will entertain a motion.
I'd move that the mayor sign the letter of support for the California Assembly Republican Caucus on these 9 points.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 17, clarification of the infill fee program for both residential and non-residential uses. Mr. Gale.
Thank you, Mayor. At your July 21st meeting, the council updated our infill impact fees. Since that meeting, there's been a couple questions about which fees does it qualify, and we thought it would be best to bring it back in an effort for a continuous improvement to make this very easy for the public and let them understand which fees were being reduced and which ones were not. I will not go through the benefits of the infill impact fees since I've given that presentation a few times, but on the left-hand side of this chart, we have all of our different fee categories from residential down to industrial. The bottom two, office and industrial, are a little bit different. As part of the AB 1600 fee study that was adopted about 8 or 9 years ago, the industrial impact fees for transportation for roads was already reduced. As a result, they would not see an additional reduction as related to infill because they're almost receiving already a 50% decrease in their road fees. However, they would receive a reduction in the general facilities fee. That includes police, fire facilities, and other general city buildings. Industrial, on the other hand, that impact fee has not been increased at all for almost 20 years and is well under $1 a square foot. And as a result, it would not qualify for an additional infill reduction. And we wanted to make sure that it wasn't that the city did not want to incentivize both office and industrial development within the infill area. It was just to reassure that people understood that they're already receiving a reduction, and that it would be a level playing field against all categories. So at this time, I can answer any questions, and if not, we'd ask that you adopt a resolution establishing an infill fee reduction matrix.
Any questions of staff?
No questions through the mayor, but comment here. Thank you, Darren, for going through this and creating a matrix that is not one size fits all, but is very clear to the industries that are going to be coming to here, in faith, I'm saying that, and wanting to be here because we have actually what I call appropriate fees that actually fit to the industry that would be coming in and building. So I really appreciate your efforts for the clarification.
All right, any other comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
A second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 18, Sutter Butte's Local Government Energy Partnership. Mr. Gale.
Great, my final item for this evening. Now I know how Diana feels every week.
But she stuck it out. She's still here. So
back in 2012, the city was informed of what PG&E calls local government partnerships. There was a local government partnership which included the Yuba City region, and it was based out of Truckee. And although they were providing us some services, we did not feel that they were truly meeting the needs of our local community. So we met with PG&E and encouraged them to find an area or find an organization locally that they could actually create a local government partnership with our local counties. The way that these local government partnerships are funded is everyone throughout the states pays a surcharge on our energy bills. Those funds go to the California Energy Commission, and then in turn they give it back to the energy providers to encourage energy efficiency. So in 2013 we were successful in entering into our first contract with PG&E to create a local government partnership. At that time it included Yuba, Sutter, and Butte counties. They provided us $150,000 and to manage a program, and what they meant by manage was to hopefully educate and inform residents about energy efficiency of programs. Additionally, they allocated $500,000 in what's called a medium income medium income direct install program, which I'll call MIDI, which is a lot easier for me to pronounce. Through that process, we've had some successes. We've created a tool lending library. We've had a number of Title 24 classes, and also we've provided HERS certification. I do not know exactly what HERS stands for, but I can tell you it's for HVAC providers. And if they have the certification, our residents can actually receive rebates on HVAC systems. At the time that we started this program, there was not one single local HVAC contractor that had a HERS certification. Now we have two. One of them went through the program. One of the reasons why they did not was the cost of the equipment. As a result, PG&E purchased equipment, which we have here at City Hall. It values about $15,000 to $20,000, and the idea is to hopefully have our contractors get the certifications that they need, and then hopefully use the equipment, and then on their own they'll understand that it's financially in their best interest to actually have that equipment. As part of our medium income direct install program, there was a significant energy savings this last year with Calusa, Yuba, and Sutter. We continue to try to push PG&E to allow us to do more with the funds that they provide us. $150,000 is not much to manage a program, and the $500,000 is goes very quickly as you start to provide efforts throughout the three-county region. The next phase of this program is to hopefully educate more, brand, and have a website. We want to provide free energy audits to our commercial customers and hopefully see them actually do energy efficiency projects. There's new state law that requires you to actually disclose the energy efficiency of your facilities when you sell. And it continues to expand. You have to disclose anything right now 50,000 square feet and above, and that will ratchet down every year over 5 years. We want to see enhanced use of the MIDI funds. And really, when I say enhanced, probably more directly focused to priority areas. What that median income direct install program is when someone does not qualify for an income-based energy efficiency project that PG&E provides, they're able to tap into this $500,000 and make the improvements. The city of Yuba City, along with the other three counties, will be able to help identify areas for those monies to be expended in this next go-around. We hopefully expand the tool lending library, see more people use it, and hopefully have additional classes for local contractors. As part of the item tonight is we've contracted with a company named Console out of Stockton. They've done a tremendous job managing the program for us, the day-to-day operations, and we'd ask that the council approve an additional $150,000 contract with Console. We have no local providers that actually do this type of work. We have worked with, we have a couple energy efficiency consultants, but this is definitely not their specialty. Console has 25 years of experience with the PG&E, and it's one of the reasons why they're continuing to fund the program. I can answer any other questions you might have, and hopefully we'll continue to be able to provide additional services to the residents of these three counties.
Any questions of staff? Darren, a couple questions. One is, I know that we requested money last year and that we got a portion of what it is that they have. Are there plans to expand and ask for more money in the future out of this plan so that we can do more?
Yeah, so we are the newest local government partnership in the state. And last year was really, the end of this year is really the end of our first real contract with them. And at least they say they're happy. We're right now drafting a proposal to increase the money at least double. We have enough projects that we told them we could easily spend $1 million annually. Are we going to get $1 million? Probably not. But we're definitely plan on asking for it, and hopefully we'll at least see an increase in our annual budget.
And these projects are for commercial accounts. Are we looking at doing any residential in the future also?
Currently, it's been all residential.
Oh,
what we'd like to see it is go into the commercial side.
All right,
it's very expensive to do an investment grade energy audit. Right now, all that people receive is a vendor coming in saying, my product will provide you, X savings, so put it on your building. Unfortunately, it does not look at the entire facility and what they call an energy grade investment. And there's a lot of programs out there, and I think our businesses would save money, put contractors at work, and in the long run, it's a win-win for everybody.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right. I have a motion. Second. All right. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Business of the City Council. Councilmember Cleveland.
As I mentioned at the last meeting, we did have the Regional Housing Authority meeting right the next day from then, and there were 3 graduates from the Financial Self-Sufficiency, they call it FSS, of course, and that became completely independent from all government assistance, and they're out there on their own. We're going to be trying to expand and encourage that program even more. We hope to be able to, I think it'd be fantastic to move out 50 people a year or 50 families a year. That would be a goal, but we're at about 25 right now. So I think that's fantastic, helping them a hand up instead of just a handout. Other than that, I just had various meetings with Yuba City citizens and businesses in the community, expressing their ideas, concerns. And I was gone for a week visiting my son out of states and family, so that's a short week.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Didwell.
And the interesting thing is all the commissions and boards actually canceled the last 2 weeks. So I think they're prepping for holidays already. So SASA was canceled, as well as transit meeting. And then the rest of the week was pretty slow. We had the Binational Health Fair. And the rest of the time I was attending seminars and conferences throughout California.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Gill.
Yeah, we did have the Yuba City Flood Agency meeting, and they're buttoning down the hatches per se. All the work that's going to be done for this year has been kind of done. So they're looking at some work coming for next year. So I know we keep talking about it, we keep beating that dead horse, but I think we'll be ready for El Nino this time around. We do have a delegation from our sister city coming here from Japan, so kids always love the Halloween holiday area. For them, I think that's ideal, so we're looking forward to that. Other than that, that's all I've got.
All right, Councilmember Buckland.
Much like Councilmember Ditball, a couple of my committee meetings were canceled, but I did attend the SACOG Government Relations and Public Affairs Committee meeting yesterday down in Sacramento. One of the interesting things that came out of that was we're looking at regionally being able to contract for some HR services on a regional basis, that each one of the agencies can go to that contractor and get certain things like whether it be salary surveys, constantly updated, not having to work through that. But just a number of HR services that are coming about. So we're trying to finalize that and then put that out to the rest of the SACOG board to see if they're interested in backing that. And that's a no cost to SACOG itself. Each one of the agencies participating would be responsible for funding those services. Also looked at some of our transportation funding recommendations. Currently, we only have in some of the transportation funding, which is limited this year, we only have 2 tiers of funding, and generally the second tier is funded by non-compliant programs or somebody doesn't spend their money. And I'm trying to get the whole funding cycle into a third tier also, that can be a rollover tier that allows us to try to cycle into that money over a period of time. So maybe we can move our Fifth Street project forward with those type of funds. Seem to be very receptive to that, so we're going to try to work through some of those details. Also, the Region Rising Conference is coming up on November the 20th. This is an all-day conference down at the Convention Center in Sacramento. Each one of the council members are invited to come to that. All you need to do is simply call down and RSVP. But I also am allowed to bring 4 members of the community along. This is an all-day event. I'll buy you lunch. Actually, the conference is going to buy you lunch. But if you're interested, or anyone's interested in coming down to that, I'll be going down. I'll be there all day. You're certainly more than welcome to ride down there with me. The city pays for part of my gasoline to do that. So come on down, and I have room for 4 people. I just need to know names, and be happy to take them to that conference.
Does that include hotel chicken?
I'm not sure. It's a number of chefs in the area. Lunch is going to be served on the west. I believe it's the east lawn of the Capitol building. So I don't know what'll be there. Maybe chicken from right here in Yuba City. So
all right, thank you. All right, number of things. Attended the GSAC board meeting last Tuesday. Had an update on the goal to reach out to 300 of the top businesses in the Bay Area and build a case as to why those businesses need to relocate into the Sacramento region. And they've currently had 48 meetings. Their goal was to have 100 a month, which was pretty aggressive. So to get 48 of them done was good, but they're still working at the rest of those. Attended the Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency meeting last Wednesday. And one of the items on the agenda last week was a discussion of the 5-year strategic plan of where do we go from here. And so over the next few months, we will be putting the meat on the bones of what that's going to look like and what Sutter Butte's Flood Control Agency will look like in the future, if it exists at all. So, and then attended last Friday the U.S. Naturalization and Citizenship program here at the Veterans Hall, where we had 55 new citizens sworn in and congratulated them for becoming citizens of the greatest country on earth, and applauded their efforts of coming here legally and going through the process to become citizens. And then a couple upcoming events. The council member Gill mentioned the Sister City. I believe they arrive on the 28th. Probably around 4 o'clock is usually when it is. So if you can be here to welcome the delegation from Toride, Japan, that would be wonderful. And then this coming Friday night is the annual Mayor's Cup. It's going to be held at Yuba City High School. It's between River Valley and Yuba City High School. It's always a lot of fun to see who's going to pull it out this year. So please plan on attending that. Let's fill up the bleachers and root on our favorite team. So with that, meeting is adjourned.